the way I first learned gratitude was obligation. You should be grateful, son. I don't want to know gratitude as an obligation, because it's either should or guilt, right? There's just nothing. But if we keep going on that journey from obligation, some people teach gratitude as a hack. There's so much on the internet about gratitude being a life hack.
What's your experience seeing this or experiencing it yourself with gratitude through grief?
Well, let's start with the phrase you just used, because I believe that's key. Gratitude through grief, not gratitude for grief.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, right there's that's a pretty significant difference, right? Okay, so I'm going to bring in another topic that gets some people worked up, right? Toxic positivity. And some people are so quick to say, well, that gratitude stuff, that's toxic positivity. I'm like, no, it's not. Now, there may be people that teach gratitude as toxic positivity, but gratitude in and of itself is not toxic positivity. Gratitude is not saying, and hey, be grateful for everything. No, what that is toxic positivity. Your spouse died, your child died, and somebody has the audacity to say you should be grateful for that.
Yeah, that's hard to hear.
And they probably deserve a punch in the face. I mean, right? I mean,
be grateful for this.
yeah. I mean, let me show you some gratitude. Be grateful. Yeah, but the idea. Okay, so I'm going to reference a book, and it's not a book about gratitude, but it's a book by my friend Brad Aronson, Humankind. Brad's wife was diagnosed, maybe it was leukemia. It was going to be a long, prolonged treatment and recovery. And their medical team told them, you must find something good to focus on in this journey, or you will go crazy. You'll lose your mind. And what they chose to focus on was all the kindness that was demonstrated to them through this journey, right? So they're not grateful for what's happening, but in spite of all of that tragic stuff happening, wow, people were incredibly kind. People were incredibly thoughtful. People were doing things for them. One of the stories he tells is that they missed the deadline for summer camp to get their son in summer camp. Somebody goes, oh, I'll handle it. What he finds out is that person took their kid out of camp to make the spot for their child to go to camp.
Wow.
Right? Does that evoke gratitude? Right? So when you and I, so Randy and I've met once before. We had a conversation. Like I said, we could have recorded that. That would have been a great podcast. But we talked about some people we know. One of those is my dear friend Chester Elton, whom you know. You've had him on the podcast.
Yep.
When COVID hit, Chester and his team, they'd just come up with this hashtag, the first or second week of COVID, called Find Your Gratitude. And Chester and I started hosting weekly events to support people. And we were so naive. We said, oh, we'll do this throughout COVID. We didn't realize COVID was going to be a forever thing, right? We did it for 90 or 120 days. But sometimes you have to find gratitude. You have to look for something, and things you can look for. The sun still rises. The sun still rises. Even on the stormiest days, and it's cloudy and it's dark, beyond the clouds, the sun's still shining. I think of Viktor Frankl. I think you have an affinity for Viktor Frankl and how he found, a flower blooming in the prison yard of the concentration camp. Oh, wow. I'm grateful for that. Right? Those little things, the kindness of someone, right? That, like Brad Aronson talked about. So there are these things that we can find and choose to be grateful for, and it helps us get through those difficulties. And maybe at some point in time, in retrospect, you have way more gratitude about the situation, even, right? You find the redemptive elements even of your darkest, hardest situation. But it's not somebody pointing a finger and, so this is what I don't want to should on anybody. You should be grateful, right? Some of us probably learn that, right? I talk about, I have a framework. The way I first learned gratitude was obligation. You should be grateful, son. I don't want to know gratitude as an obligation, because it's either should or guilt, right? There's just nothing. But if we keep going on that journey from obligation, some people teach gratitude as a hack. There's so much on the internet about gratitude being a life hack. And footnote, it is a life hack. When I'm having a bad day, or if I find myself in a rut, I know the best way to get out of that is to just immerse myself into gratitude. Write gratitude notes, write the longest list of gratitude I've ever written, right? And think, how many things can I come up to be grateful for today? But just don't stop with it being a hack. And if you continue on that journey, then you look at gratitude and you go, oh, I want it to become a practice, or I want it to become a habit. And then if we continue, it becomes mindset. And Randy, if we stay in that journey long enough, it becomes lifestyle.